Welcome, all you folks. We're delighted to have you with us this afternoon. This is the 22nd of February of 2022. I'm Don Snow. I'm here in St. George, Utah, and our host is Gerhard Roof, and he's up in Orem, Utah, up in the northern part, where we've had some snow in the last day or two and a little bit of rain down here, and we're supposed to get snow here in St. George even in the next day or two. Our topic today is Google searches, and we want to talk about some of the not well-known aspects of Google searches, as you'll see with some examples here in just a minute. One of the first things I want you to do is to, I can't get this thing to change. Why will it not change? There it is register for RootsTech. If you're not already registered, that's coming up in about 2 or 3 weeks, the 3rd through the 5th of March. It's completely free, it's virtual, and by going to that website, rootstech.org, you can sign on and join the other million people that will be on RootsTech. It's just a phenomenal thing that the church is doing now to get people connected with family history and with doing things on their own families and so on. I've already recorded 2 classes for it, and those 2 classes are recorded in the last 2 or 3 months ago. They'll start showing those on the 3rd of March. My class that I did last year is being shown now. It's on there if you click on it, but do register. It's completely free. And last year they had people from over 242 countries. There's only 250 countries in the whole world. So essentially the whole world was represented in the program. Here's what we want to talk about today. Google searches, about Google, give you a little bit of background on Google and a few things that are worthwhile knowing about. And then some Google search syntax. Most of you are familiar with the general syntax of stuff, but we'll talk about some of the things that are not quite so well known. And then once you get your results list, what can you do with them and how can you keep them so that they're clear and so that you can work with it more easily. And we'll do this by looking at examples. Now the class notes, as all my class notes, are on that website, ubtagg.org. That's Utah Valley Technology and Genealogy Group.org, and we're in our 32nd year, if you can believe that, working with stuff that's in Utah Valley, but now we're doing it on Zoom, so we're actually worldwide. We usually have people watching these classes from various places. And by the way, if you're watching this on Zoom, which anybody can, they're open to the public, it might be interesting to know where you're from and a little bit about yourself. And if you're watching this on Facebook, Gerhard is running this from Zoom onto Facebook Live. Tell us where you're from. It'd be interesting to see. The notes and links and so on of recent art videos are on that website. Now, I want to take a minute here and actually show you what that looks like. So I'm going to shift gears here. I'm going to hold down my Windows key and get over here. This is that link, Don Snow's class notes page. So if you click on that link, well, you can't click on it there because it's not live on your screen, but type it in. And this is the where all my class notes are stored and have been for the last 20 years. You'll see various things here, various pages, information about how to subscribe or how to watch these things if you don't, or if you ever forget to. It's all on here so that you can always click on it and get to it. Here's classes coming up, and these are the classes. The first one is today's date. The date here is written in international date format. So it's year, month, day. And this is the 2nd Tuesday. This is the 4th Tuesday of February. And so there's the link. And notice it is a link, Google searches, and we'll click on that here in a minute, and that'll take us to the notes. Here's the subjects. There's the 2 classes that I've already recorded for RootsTech. One is on tracking lives with technology, and the other is on the Utah Digital Newspapers. That's a wonderful website, and we've talked about both of those classes on here, but they're recorded here for on RootsTech. Then in the month of March, I'm going to do 2 more classes, and I picked the topics in the last just yesterday to try and figure out what to do. Online books with LDS genealogy and history in it. There's a bunch of stuff. And within the last couple of months, I've been talking to various people, and they were not aware of some of the books that are available that have information in them that you can download, or church stuff that has information about some of their ancestors. And then the second one is going to be finding living people. And that I've got to do a whole lot of research on to figure that one out, because that's not easy. Here's the past class notes. There's the past 2022 class notes. The one we did 2 weeks ago was on Heritage Quest Online, part 5. We did 5 different classes on Heritage Quest, and so on. So they're all on here. The earlier classes are on here, and these are all links. And this goes down to about 200 classes on there. Okay, now I've already clicked on the link to take us over to the new one. I've put it right here. So this is what you get when you click on that. So here's the notes for today's class. And these were just updated. I saw a typo in there, a major typo about an hour ago. So I updated them right at the last minute. That's today's date on there. Notice it's almost a palindrome, 2022-02-22. But not quite, but almost. Here's the abstract as to what we're doing about internet search engines, and in particular Google, and that's what we're going to be dealing with. Here's information about the class. There's my URL, my email address, if any of you want to email me later on, or if you're watching this a year from now and you want to ask me a question, I'll be glad to try and answer it. Here's the class for today. Item 4 is the class for today about the Google search engine, with some of the features on it that are not always that well known. Now here's a little bit of history about Google itself. This is the link for Google that most of you are familiar with, google.org. You may not be aware, but somebody's microphone is on and needs turning off. You may not be aware that Google has versions for almost 200 countries in the world. And if you want to get to different countries, many of them are, of course, in foreign languages, but even the English ones are different. So if you want to search for something, family history thing from England, you may get different results by using the British version, which is Google with a .uk at the end of it. There's a link here. This link will give you all the URLs for every country, I think it's 192 countries that they have versions of it. And so you can use the version that relates to the country that you're dealing with. And you may get different sorts of things. I tried a couple of days ago the difference of looking for the same thing in England, but in the US version versus the British version, and I got different stuff. Some of the things are the same. This is something new that they have included, item 6 here. Google has a light mode and a dark mode. For me, it's easier to read white on black rather than black on white. This is black on white, the way you're used to seeing it. But they have a way of changing that, and you get to it by using the settings. That's that gear thing. You don't see that on every Google page, but you see it on after you've done a Google search. And you'll see the gear in the upper right-hand corner. Go down to appearance, and you can select whether you want to reverse the colors, or so it's light on dark or dark on light. This is now light on dark, and I've got an extension that I use on Chrome because of my eyesight is getting worse. I watch it always the other way because it's so much easier for me to read. Now here's some of the Google search syntax stuff. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the details of this here in just a minute, but I want to give you at least a heads up as to what's here. Most of this stuff, well, the first part, many of you already know about and use, so we won't spend a lot of time on that, but we do want to deal with this item 14, which is a proximity search, which is not well known, and we'll give you all kinds of new things that are worth your looking at. Bunches of other stuff on different ways to search and different sorts of things. This is certainly not complete, but there is a link in here where you can find a complete list of all of the search syntax. Then at the end, we want to talk a little bit about working with results. If you find a result that's got your search terms on it, sometimes it's hard to find where those search terms occur. And that's what this part is. It shows you some ways of that you could do that, and then there'll be some conclusions. Okay, now let me get back to our main PowerPoint here. And the next thing we want to do is really go into some examples and demos of using some of these things to be searching with this. Now we're using Google here. There are hundreds, literally hundreds of search engines. Google is the biggest one, but there are many others. And depending on what you're searching for, it may be, you might want to check and see by doing a Google search for other search engines. As a matter of fact, I use DuckDuckGo on a more regular basis than I use Google because it doesn't track me. Google tracks me and sends me all kinds of junk I don't want. But nevertheless, Google is the biggest one and probably the most useful because it is the largest one. But there are lots of others, and you can find whole lists of search engines. All right, let me go back to the notes and up to where we've got the Google search syntax. That syntax is just a computer jargon term that says this is the way you type it in if you're searching for stuff. Now, most of you are familiar with quite a bit of this stuff, these earlier things. Capitals and punctuation don't make any difference. So you can type in large or small, and you can put in periods or commas or quotation mark, well, not quotation marks, but semicolons or colons, and it'll ignore all of that stuff. If you do want an exact phrase, you put it in quotation marks like that one right there. So you write quotation marks around it, and then it's searching only for exactly that expression. That will help you in many respects, and we'll see some examples of that by using some of these other commands related to this later on. There's a wildcard that you can use, and that's this asterisk. If you use an asterisk, it can substitute for any number of characters or words in the search title, so in the search word. So if you don't know how to spell Anderson, whether it's spelled with an E-N or an O-N, if you just type in A-N-D-E-R right there with an asterisk N, it will pick up S-O-N and S-E-N and S-S-E-N and anything else with where the asterisk is. And so you can get save yourself a lot of time by not having to search for the a particular one by substituting those. And sometimes you find that especially vowels are different, so that you don't know whether it was with an I or an E in there. Stick in an asterisk, and then it'll give you both of them. Stem searches. That means that whatever you type in at the start is what it will then go on. Here's an example. HISTOR, if you search for that, it will bring back everything, including history, histories, historic, historian, historical, not hysterical, but historical, and so on, because it fills in the rest of the stuff. So they call those stem searches. A minus sign will subtract out stuff and make sure it doesn't occur. For example, for my wife, her name was Diane Man Wearing Snow, so Diane M. Snow. It turns out that there's a professor, she's an MD neuroscientist someplace, I think it's Minnesota, named Diane M. Snow. And so when I search for something like for Diane, my wife, I put minus DR, minus doctor, or minus PROF for a professor. And then it eliminates all those things that relate to that lady and not to my wife. That sometimes helps in narrowing things down. And you usually don't want to narrow things down until you get too many hits. If you only get a couple of hits, then it's easy to check and see what they are. But if you get 1,000 hits, then you probably want to subtract out some stuff so that you don't show that. Number ranges, item 12 here is number ranges. You can do years, quantity, distance, cost, etc. Like if you're doing a genealogy thing and you want to search for just 1500s, if you put in 1500 ... 1600, That tells Google that you're only interested in stuff that occurred in that time period. And that eliminates all kinds of other things too. Of course, sometimes you don't know what the time period is, but if there's a lot and you want to eliminate some, put in the dot deal with the years, and that will sort it out so that you only get a piece of it. Or if you're interested only if you're looking for something in a price range, put in the dot and the prices you're interested in, or the distance, and so on. Several other things here. Google searches now include all the synonyms. It used to be that you had to put in the tilde, that little wiggly tilde thing. It's on the keyboard in the upper left-hand corner on mine. And I think on most keyboards it's in the upper left-hand corner. And if you did tilde genealogy to search for something, it would search for genealogy and family history and vital records and so on. Now that you don't need that anymore, because Google always does that. If you put in genealogy, it always searches now for family history and vital records and other synonyms as well. Now here's this proximity searches. This is one I want to spend a little bit of time on, because these are not well known, and yet they're extremely helpful. The way you do that is you put in the search term and then the word around, spelled in capital letters, and then in parentheses a number. Now the number in parentheses means how many words, up the maximum number, do you want between the two terms. And what this does is this searches all websites on the whole web for the terms that you have, but they have to occur within that number of words of each other. Now you can see the power of what that will do. There's some examples here. I've got several of them here, and I'll show you some. I'll actually do this here in a minute. Donald R. around to snow. Now let me show you. Let me go over here to, is this Google? Yeah, here's Google. Google's, I've already got it set up. I'm going to do a search here. I'm going to put in quotation marks, and remember that quotation marks are, period doesn't make any difference because it doesn't care about punctuation. And now A-R-O-U-N-D, did I spell it right? No, didn't. It's got to all be caps, A-R-O-U-N-D. And I'll say within 2 words of each other, snow. Okay, did I get it right? No, I left out a paren in there. Okay, I think I've got it right now.
That looks good.
Okay, now what this is going to do is it's going to find Donald R. That's an exact expression, and within 2 words of snow. Now watch what happens when I do the search. I'm going to hit enter, and here's the search. Now here's Donald R. Snow, RootsTech Connect 2021. That was my class from last year, so it found that one. Here's another Donald R. Snow, retired professor of mathematics. It found that one. Donald R. Snow, I want to find, there's one, Snow Donald R. Now you see it found that because they're within 2 words of each other, but they're in reverse order. And so it found, by using the around or proximity search here, it picked up that one, which if I had typed in just Donald R. Snow in quotation marks, that would not have come up. And so you can see the difference here on what this stuff does. By doing this a few minutes, well, no, it was another one. About an hour ago, I found another article that I wasn't even aware was in there about one of the math paper I'd published years ago. Let me go back over here to still this thing. That was this. This is 14A on the notes. If you do snow around 100 Woburn, now Woburn, Massachusetts is a town in Massachusetts where our ancestor Richard Snow shows up in 1645 on a tax list. If I were looking for just Woburn, I'd find all kinds of things about Woburn, Massachusetts. If I was looking for Snow or Richard Snow, I'd find all kinds of things about Richard Snows, but they wouldn't all be related. But by putting in within 100 words of that, of each other, I will pick up all of the Snows that occur, the name Snow, Richard Snow, and he had a kid named John Snow, that's my ancestor, another one named James, another one, and with Woburn, Massachusetts, someplace on the same page within 100 words of it. So not just on the same page, but within 100 words. So you can see that that this is going to help me find information about an individual if I know something about the location, and eliminate a lot of other sorts of things. If I use, here's an example C here, is if I use Snow around 10 Beeman. Now, my great-grandfather was Erastus, my great-grandfather was Erastus Snow, the apostle. His son, Erastus Beeman Snow, is my grandfather. Now, by searching for Snow around 10 Beeman, that will bring up Erastus Beeman Snow. Erastus Snow marries Artemisia Beeman. It will bring up Beeman, comma, and the other Snows. And all this kind of stuff it will bring up because of the because they occur within a few words of each other. And you can change that number 10 to anything else that works on there. It really turns out to be helpful to see what's happening and to use the information. The D example D here on 14 is to use it for finding these dates. And this I find a major help also, especially in genealogy, because you never know how they've written the date. If you type August, AUG, well, AUG, around 5 words of 1879, that will pick up things like August 10th of 1879, written out, or August 10, or any other date in August, comma, 1879, or the 10th day of August in 1879. All these different combinations of dates will show up with this, whereas if you try to do it with just a regular format, you're going to have to try all of these different possibilities yourself and put them in. So it's a powerful example of what you can do with this. So those are just some things that you can think of that I thought of to list in here to give you some ideas of what you can do with these. Okay, let's go on to some of these other things in here. You can use the in command, IN, capital, and all these commands have to be typed in capital letters. So the caps here do make a difference. In will convert measures or money or time or velocity. For example, if you want to know how much is 1 British pound worth in US dollars, I've got here 1 British pound in US money, or 20 ounces in kilograms, or $2.50 in 1851 in dollars today. Be sure you capitalize the in, because that's what you want to convert. This $2.50. Some of you may remember the talk I give on immigration. That was the price of the lottery ticket that Lucius Scoville was told in his revelation to buy, and it paid 1,000 to 1, and he got enough money to help many of the saints in New Orleans to travel up the river, up the Mississippi River, to get to then over to the Missouri River to go to winter quarters on the road going west, where they started from there. So in will convert stuff into different sorts of things. For correct spelling, there's ways you can do that here, various other things. Here are some site searches. If you want to know what site, if you want to search only for the word snow, for example, or my papers or something that is in the UV tag thing, type site, colon, and then the name of the website, and then what you're searching for. And that won't search the whole web, it'll only search on that particular website. And that's particularly helpful when there's a big website. File type is an interesting one. File type PDF. About an hour ago, in preparing for this thing, I thought, well, I'll try something. I'll type file type :PDF, and then in parentheses, Donald R. Snow, and hit enter. Here's a bunch of stuff. I actually found here it is, a functional inequality. That's a research paper I wrote and published in a book. I don't know when, but probably 30 years ago. And I didn't even know it was online. But there it is. The whole thing is online. It's a PDF. And so everything here is just PDFs. And so you can find PDFs of things. If you're interested in to see if the story of your ancestor is online, type in your ancestor's name in quotation marks, and or use the around sort of a thing, and then type file type PDF, and you'll find just PDFs. Or if you're looking for JPEGs, type file type .jpg JPG, and so on, different sorts of things that are available there. That's also helpful. More stuff that you could do on here, and there's more things that we have time to talk about, but take time to read through them. This item 24 is a list of the complete list of the Google search operators. And I think there's 42 of them, as I recall now. And this guy seems to keep this list up to date. So it's usually up to date. Now let's shift gears and talk a little bit about working with result lists, because sometimes when you find a result, it's hard to find the where the terms occur on the web page. Now you can always use item 25. You can use this Control F key. Hold down the Control key and hit F, and what that does is that opens up. Well, first of all, item 25 is hold down the Control key when you click on something, and it takes you to that link, but it keeps your old, it opens it in a new tab, so that your old tab is still there. You've kept your place in that, and you don't have to scroll back and up and down to find where you were. And that's why I put that in there. That's also up in the top. Item 26 is this Control F. Hold down the Control key and hit F. That's short for find. And that opens a little search box up at the top, and then you can type in whatever your search terms are. And so that works for any website, not just for Google results here. Now on the Chrome browser, and that's what I'm using here is a Chrome browser, there's a free extension. There are several extensions. The one I was using turns out not to be available now. It doesn't work with some of the new versions of Chrome, so I had to delete it. But there's this one that's here. It's called Multi-Highlight, right there, Multi-Highlight. That's this thing that looks like a pencil. Have I still got it up here? It's probably hidden. It's probably in here. Well, there's a, I don't even see it in here now. It's up there somewhere because I was using it the other day, but I don't see now what I've done with it. It's should be up there. Oh, no, it's not a pencil. Oh, no, excuse me. It's not. The pencil's the one that didn't work. That's the one I've changed. Here's this thing. This is this multi-highlight. It opens this thing. Now watch what happens if I type in some words here. I'm going to type in Google. Did I get Google in there spelled right? Yeah. Now you notice that Google, everywhere Google occurs on this whole page, it's highlighted. If I type in something else, let's type in snow. Every word is highlighted that has snow in it, but it's in a different color. So you can see exactly where they are. And this is a multi-highlight thing. Let's do another one. Let's put lists. So it's got different colors for each one of the different words. It's a free extension. You download it, put it into your Chrome, and most other browsers have something comparable to this. This allows you to be able to find what you're looking for when you're in a website, because if it's got all kinds of stuff, it's hard to see where your search terms actually occur. Okay, now that takes care of that. Now let's see, I could turn that thing off. And so I just click that again and it turns it off, and that, but notice it's left all these things still highlighted. That's not a problem, but you have to get out of it in order to finish up. Okay, now right down here at the end, in conclusions here, and I'll get back to the PowerPoint here in just a second. Google has many other free features. We've only scratched the surface and we've only looked at searches here, but there's lots of other stuff that it will do that's free. Some of which we've talked about in the past and some of which we haven't. But other classes will deal with other sorts of things. As an example, item 29, try typing your own name into Google in quotation marks and see what comes out, or use that around command and see what comes out and see if you get something. If you haven't done this before, it's almost a sure bet that you'll find something related to you, whether it's an article in a newspaper or a school report or something that will involve your name and will have your you mentioned in there. And there's new stuff being indexed all the time, and so every time you try it, there's new stuff in there. So it's really worthwhile to try that periodically. There's a great story about Leroy Nelson from our ward here in St. George that was attending one of my classes here on this subject about, oh, it's been 3 or 4 years ago. I won't take time to tell you the whole story, but he went home and tried that, and sometime I'll tell you the details of what he found. It was really, really something. Okay, here's a quick summary of what we've looked at. We looked at the Google search engine, only this one, but there are many other, hundreds of other search engines, some of which are geared to particular things and so on. We looked at the search syntax and some of the little, or the not so well known parts of it. We looked at what you do with the result lists that come up, and then we saw some examples. Now, if you tuned in late for our class today, or if you're watching this later on, the video is on Facebook. It'll be on Facebook for about 2 months. Gerhard usually leaves them on there, but then he puts them on YouTube. It's on there permanently. And so there's bunches of my past classes. I don't know, what are we up to, Gerhard? 50 or 60 on there, I think now, of my classes that are on YouTube.
That's about right.
So that's the story. Okay, now, are there questions and or comments that any of you have? And if so, if you're on Zoom, just unmute your mic and ask your question. Or is there anything, Gerhard, on Facebook, on the chat, or the?
Quilden just unmuted.
Well, I just wanted to thank you, Don, for putting these classes on. And where are you now? Did you make it?
I'm in St. George. I got back down here a few days ago, and my kids all came for my 91st birthday.
So, happy birthday.
They all went home. Well, my birthday really isn't until next week or next month, but the kids wanted to use the President's Day weekend, so they all came back.
Incidentally, Don, Kaylee Roy Nelson is my old BYU bishop.
Is that a fact? He's in my ward down here. He's a snowbird.
Right.
Yeah, over in unit, what is it, 76, something like that?
Well, our ward here is Morningside 7th Ward. He has a condo up in Sundance,
right.
And he's up there for the summers and down here for the winters, and he lives here in our ward.
Yeah, we helped him pour the foundation for his bridge. We just happened to be driving by when he was in the midst of it.
Really? Up there at Sundance at the
the
Provo Canyon. Oh gosh.
Yeah, we've been there before.
Nice.
That's wonderful.
Oh, I was just going to mention, I really appreciate all this, and I'm so glad that these lessons are available, because I learned a lot, but I won't remember it for very long, so I have to refer back.
Well, you're like all the rest of us.
Right. No, you aren't. You're such a brilliant man. Everything's just right there in your brain. I can't believe it.
Well, I don't know about that. Oh, God.
Thank you anyway. Appreciate it.
Appreciate that. Thanks. Any other questions?
Don, there's also a thank you from Paralee in the chat.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Appreciate that.
I had a question personally. The multi-highlight insert there in Chrome, does it accept wildcards?
I don't know that.
Be curious if you like put.
Yeah, we could
If you
experiment
put-
with it, but
If you
we're
put
already
up
over.
something like, if you search for Google, if you put G asterisk GLE, will that find mistakes like 3 O's or 1 O in Google?
Boy, I don't
In
know
your
the answer to
document?
that. We could try that and experiment with it.
Okay,
And see if it,
while you're doing that, Cheryl's from Nebraska and Maria from California, Carrie from Aurora, Colorado, and from Knoxville all said where they were from.
wonderful. I appreciate it, all you folks. We frequently have somebody from Portland, Oregon, and somebody from Maine. So we frequently get both ends of the country represented, and sometimes people from Canada too. Well, we can experiment with that, Gerhard. I won't take time now because other people probably don't want us to hang in around, but we can experiment with it and try it out. So maybe after we stop the video, we can experiment with it. Is there anything else anybody has? Well, if not, I appreciate your taking your time to watch these. We've talked about Google searches, and I'm Don Snow, and that's Gerhard. That's the Roof. That's our the host for these. And this is the 22nd of February of 2022. Let's see, I guess it's the middle of March. We switch back to daylight savings time. So the first one of my classes, the second Tuesday will be still on Mountain Standard Time, but then the fourth Tuesday will be on daylight savings time. Anyway, thank you folks for taking your time to watch. We appreciate you.